কেমন আছেন? ভালো আছেন সবাই?
জি ম্যাম, আলহামদুলিল্লাহ ভালো আছি।
ম্যাম
ভালো আছেন?
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ।
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ। আপনাদের দিনকাল কেমন চলছে?
এই রোজায় আর কি
আচ্ছা,
চলছে।
আপনাদের তো ঈদের আগে আমার সাথে লাস্ট ক্লাস, তারপরে ঈদের পরে আরেকটা ক্লাস পাবেন, তারপরেই হয়ে যাবে।
জি ম্যাম।
আজকে লা মর্টে ডি আর্থার মানে দ্য ডেথ অফ আর্থারটা আমরা করব। এটার বাংলা একটা সামারি বুঝে ফেললেই আপনাদের হয়ে যাবে ইনশাল্লাহ। সবাই কি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন?
জি ম্যাম, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
শাইনি চুলে এখন হবে শর্ট হেয়ার স্টাইল। স্টে ফোর দ্বিগুণ শাইনি চুল প্রতিদিন। Welcome to my channel English Literature. Today we are going to talk about Thomas Malory's Morty D. Arthur. It is based on Arthurian legend or romance. So, what is romance? In the modern usage, the romance means a love affair. But in medieval context, romance is more than that. Of course, there is love affair, the theme of love, but along all this, there is the theme of chivalry. The hero will go on some quest and journey, take. Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Friends, today here in this video lecture, I am going to discuss with you about Thomas Mallory's most famous work, that is La Morte de Arthur. So friends, here in this video lecture, I am going to discuss with you about important points related to this particular work. So friends, I will be making separate video lecture in which I will be discussing about this particular work in a very detailed manner. So friends, please stay tuned to this notice of mine, and now I am proceeding with this lecture. तो फ्रेंड्स, इसी के साथ जो है आज के लेक्चर की शुरुआत करते हैं। सबसे पहले बात करते हैं कि ये जो वर्क है थॉमस मेलोरी का फेमस वर्क।
This, I think the best one is this, not this. Let's make it. আপনারা
Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. Title and author.
অথরের নামটা দেখে নেন, স্যার থমাস ম্যালোরি, ঠিক আছে? টাইটেলটা হচ্ছে লি মর্টে দি আর্থার, দ্য ডেথ অফ আর্থার। ওকে, এটা হলো ইংলিশে আর এটা হলো ওই ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজে, অনেক ওল্ড ইংলিশের ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজে, ঠিক আছে?
Arthur, The Death of Arthur. Author, Sir Thomas Malory, a medieval English writer. Composition and structure. Date of composition, likely written during the 15th century. Originally written in Middle English. Compilation, a compilation of various Arthurian legends and romances into a single cohesive narrative. Content and themes. Arthurian legends chronicles the life, deeds, and ultimately the death of King Arthur. Knights of the Round Table explores the adventures and quests of the Knights of the Round Table. Romance and chivalry emphasizes themes of chivalry, courtly love, and the quest for the Holy Grail. Tragedy culminates in the tragic downfall of the legendary King Arthur. Structure and organization. Book structure, typically divided into multiple books or sections. Interconnected stories, interweaves various Arthurian tales into a continuous narrative. Legacy and influence. Popularity. Le Morte d'Arthur became immensely popular during the Renaissance and later periods. Adaptations. Countless adaptations, retellings, and reinterpretations in literature, art, and film. Influence on Arthurian literature significantly shaped subsequent portrayals of Arthurian legends. Significance, cultural impact, played a crucial role in shaping the image of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in English literature. Medieval literature, a key work in medieval English literature, combining elements of romance, tragedy, and epic. Le Morte d'Arthur remains a seminal work in Arthurian literature, offering readers a comprehensive and enduring portrayal of the legendary King Arthur and his knights. Its impact extends far beyond its initial composition, leaving an indelible mark on the literary and cultural landscape. Manage WordPress hosting by Hostinger. Here are 3 super features to improve your website's performance. 1. Our in-house built CDN connects a global network of
আরো একটু আপনি মিউট করেন কারণ আপনি ক্লাসে ঢুকলেই সাথে সাথে শব্দ শুরু হয়ে
This is
যায়
our third video in the series of Age of Revival. Now in this video, I would like to talk about 3 important authors of Age of Revival: Thomas Malory, William Dunbar, and Thomas Eliot. Thomas Malory was a layman writer. He was knighted in the year 1441, so Sir was added before his name. He served in British Parliament, but he started committing crimes such as armed assault, murder, rape. Henry VI gave him royal pardon for his crimes, as he was close to royal family. But when he was excluded from royal pardon, then he was imprisoned. While he was in jail, he wrote a book named Morte d'Arthur, which means Death of Arthur. It is famous piece in Arthurian literature. It was first book of prose about Arthur. It did not discuss about affair between Lancelot and Guinevere, wife of Arthur. It is intended as political commentary. It was about infights that destroyed the Arthur's kingdom. It was written during War of Roses. There are 21 books of this writing, and 8 of them are romances, adaptations of the book Morte d'Arthur. Tennyson wrote Ideals of King based on it. Mark Twain wrote Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur quote. T.H. White wrote Once a Future King. It was the most important retelling of Arthur. John Steinbeck wrote The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights. It was unfinished. Spencer wrote his famous work Faerie Queene, which was also based on Morte d'Arthur. Now we will discuss in detail the summary of Morte d'Arthur. It is popular legend of history when Arthur was destroyed and betrayed by people close to him. Uther was father of king. He had affair with Igraine, a lady who was not his wife. Arthur was born from Igraine and son of Uther. Arthur was raised by a wizard named Merlin. Merlin, a wizard, designed a table for Uther on which 100 knights could sit. It was a round table. Uther died. No one knew who would hold the position of head. There was sword of excellence and no one could lift it. A person who could be able to lift it would be a head. Arthur could lift it and he became a king. Arthur and his knights defended it and he had 12 knights. There were 8 stories and only 7 stories were complete. Only one was unfinished. Now, I would like to discuss in detail the summary of various books. Book 1. Book 1 was based on King's birth and prophecy of Merlin. Book 2. Balan and Balan were 2 knights who helped Arthur in winning North. But due to mistaken identity problem, both of them killed each other. Book 3. In this book, Round Table was introduced. Arthur's Sir Gawain is also introduced. It also talks about King Pellinore, who was nephew of King Arthur, and Guinevere's marriage to Arthur is also discussed in this book. Book 4. Book 4 tells about Merlin and it helps Arthur against kings of North. Book 5. It talks about King Lucius, who demands true age from Arthur as tax, but Arthur denies, which results in war. After this, Arthur moves around Europe. He arrives in Rome, where he becomes king. It also discusses Lancelot.
Fear and worry suck. Have you ever been frozen or paralyzed by fear? Well, I have. It's an all too common experience. Today, I'm
Book 6. This book is very important part of Mortadelo. Becomes very important in book 6 as he becomes major knight or best knight. He loves Queen Guinevere, but he tries to resist as it takes him away from his duty. He goes to Holy Grail. It is symbol of Holy Grail, which is important for world peace. Mordred enters in the story. Mordred is the son of Arthur. He encouraged him to have fight with Lancelot. Arthur tries to overcome Lancelot, and Mordred declared that Arthur had died. Mordred overtook throne. Arthur discovered son's betrayal. He goes back home and got wounded and died. His son also died after receiving mortal wound. His body was sent to Isle of Avon. So now I will tell you about the beginning lines of the Morte d' Arthur. It befell in the days of Uther Pendragon. So these are the beginning lines of Morte d' Arthur. Now we would discuss about the second important writer of this age, who is William Dunbar. William Dunbar was a Scottish Chaucerian. He wrote during golden age of Scottish poetry. He was attached to court of James. He wrote with imagination and originality. He was traditionalist and manipulated old theme. His important works were Lament of Makers and Flighting of Dunbar and Kennedy. In his work, Lament of Makers, he talks about fellow poets who have died. He talks about mortality. Lydgate, Gower, Chaucer are referred by him in this work. Walter Kennedy, his rival, was also mentioned in this work. He held his rivals in great regard in this book. Now we'll discuss about the second important book of William Dunbar, Flighting of Dunbar and Kennedy. He mentioned his rivals in this book also, but in this book he criticized his rivals. The third important writer that I am going to discuss in this video is Thomas Eliot. He was supporter of humanist ideas. He wrote about women. He also wrote about Thomas More. He supports women education. His important works are Defense of Good Women, book named Governor, Castle of Health, and the important Dictionary of Latin. Book named Governor. This book was written in the year 1531 and it was dedicated to Henry VIII, and it is a treatise for statesmen. He also talks about weakness of education system. Renaissance humanism is also mentioned in this book. Castle of Health. This book discusses a regime of good health, and it also talks about a systematic plan for health. It is a vernacular language from view of layman. Dictionary. It was the first dictionary of classical Latin. Practical instructions of writing are also given in this book. So, with this, we have discussed three important writers in this video, which are very important writers of Age of Revival. These are Thomas Malory, William Dunbar, and Thomas Eliot. I have discussed about all the major works of these three writers. Hope you like this video. Thank you very much for listening to this video.
So hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I am going to talk about Thomas Malory, because in the last video जिसमें हमने कुछ बेसिक से जो ऑथर्स थे, राइटर्स थे, उनको डिस्कस किया था, जो कि एज ऑफ रिवाइवल में मेनली जिन्होंने वर्क की.
Key facts of Lew D. Arthur. Full title, Lew D. Arthur. Author, Sir Thomas Malory. Composing date, 1469 to 1470. Published date, 1485. Place of writing, Newgate Prison, London. Genre, Arthurian romance. Time setting, medieval English. Place setting, England and France. Point of view, first person. Now we will focus on the historical context for the better understanding of the novel. In the 15th century, there was a fascination with individual battles and jousting tournaments, inspired by popular stories of the time. In 1348, Edward III created the Order of the Garter, influenced by the Knights of the Round Table. Other chivalric orders also thrived. However, England was in turmoil with civil wars and local conflicts, similar to the constant battles described in the book. The existence of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table is debated among historians due to a lack of conclusive evidence. I hope this context is lucrative. Now we will summarize the novel in detail as possible. Let's get started. The tale commences during the rule of King Uther Pendragon in England. Uther, desiring the Duke of Cornwall's wife, Igraine, orchestrates a meeting. However, Igraine rejects him and informs her husband of Uther's advances. Uther, angered by the Duke's absence, uses it as a pretext for war. To aid Uther, a knight named Sir Ulfius seeks out the wizard Merlin.
Merlin, in disguise, proposes a pact with Uther, his assistance in exchange for Uther fulfilling Merlin's request. Uther agrees. Merlin reveals that Uther will father a child with Igraine, and Merlin wants the child. Uther, disguised as the Duke, approaches Igraine, leading to the conception of Arthur. Upon learning of the Duke's death, Igraine marries Uther, unaware of his true identity. As her due date nears, she confesses to Uther about the mysterious encounter, and he reveals the truth. Following the birth, Merlin, keeping Uther's promise, delivers the child, Arthur, to a nobleman named Sir Ector. Uther falls ill, and Merlin advises him to lead his troops even if incapacitated. Uther's forces triumph, but he succumbs to illness. In his final moments, Uther designates Arthur as the future king. After Uther's death, Merlin suggests a divine test to determine the rightful ruler. Lords gather in London, and a sword in a stone appears with an inscription proclaiming the rightful king. None can pull it out. On New Year's Day, Sir Ector and his son Kay attend a tournament. But Kay leaves his sword in his father's room. Arthur is sent to retrieve Kay's sword, discovers the sword in the stone, and effortlessly extracts it. Kay claims credit, but Arthur repeats the feat. Sir Ector realizes Arthur's true lineage and confesses. Arthur reinserts the sword, pulls it out again, and is acknowledged as the rightful king. At Pentecost, Arthur successfully repeats the feat amid public acclaim. He is sworn in as king, rectifies land seizures, and appoints Kay and Ophius to key roles. The narrative foretells Arthur's future conquest with the Knights of the Round Table. As young King Arthur ascends to the throne of England, doubts arise among other monarchs regarding his youth and inexperience. They contemplate exploiting Arthur's novice rule to seize territories for themselves. Merlin, the wise advisor, alerts Arthur to this threat and proposes seeking assistance from two seasoned kings, King Ban and King Bors. In return, Arthur is advised to pledge support by participating in their battles. The combined forces of Arthur, Ban, and Bors make significant progress against King Lot and his allies, but Merlin cautions Arthur to cease hostilities while they have the upper hand. Arthur's troops later secure victories in the conflicts faced by King Ban and King Bors. During his travels, Arthur encounters Guinevere, who will eventually become his queen. However, he unknowingly becomes involved with Margaux, Lot's wife, and the mother of Gawain, Gareth, Agravain, and Gaheris. Arthur remains oblivious to the fact that Margaux is his half-sister. Margaux bears Arthur's son, Mordred, destined to bring about his father's downfall and upheaval in the kingdom. Merlin advises Arthur to send all children born in May, Mordred's birth month, on a ship destined for shipwreck. Despite complying, Mordred miraculously survives, while the tragic fate of the other children angers many in the kingdom. The senseless loss of innocent lives casts a shadow over Arthur's reign, fueling discontent among his subjects. Arthur endeavors to strengthen his kingdom by establishing the Fellowship of the Round Table. Dozens of knights gather around an immense table, pledging to embark on honorable quests, show mercy to adversaries, and defend damsels in distress. This fellowship becomes crucial for Arthur as Merlin gradually fades from the narrative. Merlin, besotted with Nimue, the Lady of the Lake, imparts his sorcery knowledge to her. However, when Nimue grows weary of him and fears his power, she traps him in a cave for eternity. Amidst these challenges, Arthur contends with the cunning of Morgan Le Fay, his sorceress sister, who ceaselessly plots his demise or endeavors to manipulate him for her own ends. Having vanquished Lot and his forces, Arthur faces new threats when Emperor Lucius of Rome demands tribute. Deeming this demand a threat to his sovereignty, Arthur refuses and leads his knights to the European mainland. There, they engage in various adventures, including the slaying of a perilous giant. Ultimately, they triumph over the Roman armies and return victorious. Notably, Lancelot du Lake, one of Arthur's knights, distinguishes himself in Rome and continues to accomplish feats back in England, solidifying his status as the world's preeminent knight. During the annual Pentecost gathering, the esteemed Knights of the Round Table reconvene to exchange tales of their adventures and strategize before embarking on new quests. In a particular year, an unfamiliar squire arrives at the court, clad in humble attire, leaving everyone puzzled about his identity. King Arthur, curious yet discerning, assigns him duties in the kitchen. Kay, known for his sharp tongue, derides the boy as Beaumains or Fair Hands, drawing disapproval from the other knights. Unbeknownst to them, the squire harbors a desire to prove himself. When a distressed damsel named Lynette seeks a knight's aid in rescuing her sister lioness from the menacing Knight of the Red Lawns, the mysterious squire steps forward, expressing his willingness to undertake the quest. Despite Kay's scornful remarks, the squire, now known as Beaumains, sets out on his journey, with the renowned Lancelot trailing behind. Beaumains requests knighthood from Lancelot, revealing his true identity as Gareth of Orkney, the brother of Gawain. Recognizing the potential within Gareth, Lancelot grants his request. However, Gareth's true lineage remains a secret, and Lynette persistently criticizes him for his modest appearance and apparent lack of noble standing, even as Gareth displays exceptional prowess by defeating numerous adversaries. Ultimately, Gareth triumphs over the Knight of the Red Lawns and wins Lyonesse. Lynette, however, continues to obstruct his union with Lyonesse until Gareth proves his mettle in the Pentecost jousting tournament. Only after Gareth's undeniable skill and valor shine through at the tournament does Lynette relent and cease preventing him from marrying Lyonesse. The victorious couple, Gareth and Lyonesse, are finally united in matrimony, concluding this chapter of noble quests and chivalrous deeds. For a significant portion of the narrative, the focal point shifts to a knight outside the realm of King Arthur, Tristram, the son of King Meliodas. Tristram's stepmother, driven by jealousy, attempts to poison him. Despite the treachery, Tristram forgives her, showcasing his knightly honor. However, his father, King Meliodas, decides to send him away from the country. As Tristram grows into adulthood, he proves his mettle by defending King Mark of Cornwall against King Anguish of Ireland and engaging in a fierce battle with a Round Table knight named Marhaus. Although Tristram emerges victorious, he sustains wounds. The care of Anguish's family is extended to him, unaware of his true identity. Tristram falls deeply in love with the king's daughter, La Beale Isoud. The revelation of Tristram's true identity by Isoud's mother prompts Anguish to sadly send him away, despite understanding the necessity of Tristram's defense of King Mark for the sake of honor. Tristram finds himself at King Mark's court, but the situation takes a complicated turn as both Tristram and King Mark fall in love with the same lady, Isoud, who reciprocates Tristram's affections. Mark, consumed by jealousy, devises a plot for Tristram's downfall. Mark orders Tristram to fight and win La Beale Isoud so that Mark can marry her. Committed to his duty as a loyal subject, Tristram complies, even though he and Isoud continue to harbor love for each other. Eventually, a knight in Mark's service exposes the mutual infatuation between Tristram and Isoud, leading Mark to lock Isoud away. Tristram manages to escape to King Howell's land, where he briefly falls in love with and marries another woman, Isoud La Blanchemains. However, he eventually leaves this Isoud and joins forces with Lamorak de Gallis, a knight from Arthur's court, to overthrow a tyrant together. Meanwhile, back at Arthur's court, an unfamiliar knight named Bruder Lenoir, also known as La Cote Mailtail, arrives anonymously. He proves his knightly prowess, earning a place among the esteemed Round Table. Several knights of the Round Table engage in just with Tristram, who steadfastly resists joining the Round Table, feeling unworthy and facing the displeasure of Lancelot, who has learned of Tristram's unfaithfulness to La Beale Isoud. Tristram, attempting to evade scrutiny, sneaks back to King Mark's court, but is once again discovered. A conflict ensues with Isoud, leading Tristram to flee into the forest, where he appears to lose his sanity temporarily. Eventually, Tristram is brought back to court, initially perceived as a madman. Isoud eventually recognizes him, prompting Mark to banish Tristram from the court. Tristram, proving his mettle in Arthur's tournaments, is finally granted a place as a knight of the Round Table. Learning of Tristram's success, Mark harbors jealousy and clandestinely ventures into England, even resorting to killing two knights who refuse to aid him in his plot against Tristram. Arthur's knights, including Dinadan, uncover Mark's identity, leading to Mark being brought before Arthur. Under Arthur's command, Mark swears to cease plotting against Tristram and is allowed to return to court with him. Meanwhile, Gawain and his brothers face defeat at the hands of Lamorak in a tournament. Consumed by jealousy, they resort to killing their mother, Margaz, who is Lamorak's lover, and eventually, Lamorak himself. At Mark's court, Tristram is reluctantly sought after to aid in defeating enemies. Mark's envy escalates to the point where he kills his own brother, whose wife and son, Alisander, manage to escape. Mark continues his scheming to destroy Tristram, but with Lancelot now siding with Tristram, they successfully imprison Mark for a period. With newfound freedom, Tristram, accompanied by fellow knights Gareth, Palomides, and Dinadan, embarks on numerous quests. However, Palomides harbors jealousy due to his love for La Beale Isoud, particularly after Tristram gains glory in a tournament. The two prepare for a duel, but Tristram, wounded, cannot engage Palomides in battle. Meanwhile, Lancelot, committed to Queen Guinevere despite his affair, is deceived into sleeping with Elaine of Corbin. This liaison results in the birth of Galahad, a knight destined to surpass his father. Galahad later arrives at court incognito, revealing his extraordinary holiness when he effortlessly extracts a sword from an enchanted stone. His presence marks the beginning of the quest for the Sangreal or Holy Grail, a vessel capable of providing unlimited sustenance and revealing spiritual mysteries to the worthy. Despite Arthur's regret over losing many knights to the quest, he acknowledges that most may not be worthy. Galahad's adventures on the quest include freeing castles and defending damsels, showcasing his exceptional virtue. Percivale, another questing knight, faces his own challenges involving temptations and battles with the devil. Lancelot, too, confronts temptations and is warned that his past sins may prevent him from attaining the Holy Grail. Sir Bors undergoes spiritual tests, choosing honor over family loyalty, leading to a conflict with his possessed brother Lionel. After escaping Lionel's wrath, Bors joins Percivale, and they eventually meet Galahad. Together, they embark on further adventures, encountering Percivale's sister on an enchanted ship and discovering a holy sword and scabbard connected to Joseph of Arimathea, an early guardian of the Holy Grail. Galahad is destined to wield this sacred sword and scabbard. At the castle of the maimed king, Pelham, Galahad fulfills a prophecy by healing the king. Despite facing imprisonment, the Holy Grail ensures their well-being. After the king's death, Galahad is crowned ruler, and in due time, he is granted the vision of the spiritual mysteries of the Holy Grail before ascending to heaven. Percivale becomes a holy man and passes away, while Bors returns to Arthur's court, where several original Round Table knights have perished. At the court, Lancelot quickly forgets his vow to become a holier man and resumes his affair with Guinevere. Soon, jealousy leads a knight named Pinel to attempt to poison Gawain at Guinevere's feast, accidentally killing a knight named Patrise. Despite the misunderstanding, Lancelot defends Guinevere against Pinel. Various tournaments follow, where Lancelot proves his might. During his stay with Lord Bernard and his daughter, Elaine LeBlanc, Elaine falls in love with Lancelot, but he remains loyal to Guinevere. Unfortunately, Elaine dies of grief. After a great tournament, a temporary peace settles in the kingdom. However, a knight named Meleagrance attempts to kidnap Guinevere in Lancelot's absence, claiming his love for her. Lancelot is captured and imprisoned, but with the help of a damsel, he escapes and defeats Meleagrance. Jealous of plots against him. The affair between Lancelot and Guinevere, an open secret at court, is exposed by Agravain. Arthur, unaware until now, is confronted with the truth as Agravain surrounds Guinevere and Lancelot one night. Lancelot escapes, rescuing Guinevere, but accidentally kills Gareth and Gaheris in the process. Gawain, their brother, once loyal to Lancelot, turns against him, vowing to destroy him. Arthur sadly agrees to fight against his once best knight and friend. Lancelot takes Guinevere to his tower, but Gawain insists on justice. Amidst the chaos, Lancelot returns Guinevere to Arthur, who is willing to end the civil war. However, Gawain refuses reconciliation unless Lancelot is punished. Fleeing to Benwick with loyal knights, Lancelot faces a siege led by Arthur and Gawain. Meanwhile, Mordred, hearing of Arthur's death, crowns himself king, claiming Guinevere as his wife. Even after learning of Arthur's survival, Mordred refuses to step down. Arthur and Gawain return, but on Gawain's deathbed, he forgives Lancelot and regrets starting the war. Advised to sign a truce with Mordred until Lancelot's return, an accident nullifies the truce, and Arthur and Mordred fatally wound each other. Lancelot returns too late to prevent the tragedy. Guinevere retires to a nunnery, and many knights become holy men or hermits, abandoning the life of battle. Constantine is crowned as the new king, marking the end of the Round Table story.
আপনারা এই লা মর্টে দিয়ে আর্থারটা পড়ে ফেলবেন। সব তো আপনাদের সাথে শেয়ারই করা আছে, এবং 15 তারিখের পরে আমাদের ফাইনাল শুরু হবে। সো বেস্ট উইশেস, সবাই ভালো থাকেন তাহলে।
Okay,
Yes,
assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ম্যাম।
ওকে, খোদাহাফেজ। সবাইকে সাজেশন দিয়ে রাখছি গ্রুপে, ওই সাজেশনটা অনুসারে দেখে নেন, ইনশাল্লাহ ভালো হবে। ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, ঈদ মোবারক ম্যাম।
ঈদ মোবারক, ভালো থাকেন সবাই।